Did you see the recent scandal that happened in poker regarding RTA use in online poker?
No, I'm not familiar with that. What happened there?
Okay, so like RTA, it's like it stands for real time assistance or whatever. It's just basically so like when you play poker, there's like a GTO, or basically the game theory optimal way of playing. Like it's like mathematically proven you should fold. You should, when you have it had list out all the hands, and you should do this with that hand, and you should raise, you should fold, you should call with this hand, this percentage of time, this percentage of time, this percentage of time, right? They have like these kind of like game charts. So like those are against the rules to use when you're playing like online poker. You're not supposed to pull out a game chart and look at the chart while you're playing. It's supposed to be like fair, and you're not supposed to have any kind of charts and such in that regard. And they also have like these solvers where you put in your hand and you put in what the opponent does, and it tells you exactly what to do. You should raise this amount of pot, this amount, etc. So it's basically telling you how to play like optimally in that scenario, and it's like against the rules. So like recently there was this whole bunch of high stakes poker players who basically were using these RTA softwares, etc., and they were banned on the GG Poker platform for using RTA assistance. And it calls into question like the integrity of online poker. And a lot of people actually play online poker during COVID, and a lot of people are starting to question these platforms, and the sponsorships that they have. Like, do they do, like, say if you are a sponsor of like a certain platform like Party Poker, GG Poker, etc., and you're a sponsor of them, are they likely to give you better hands? Is it completely random? Do these people that are sponsors, do they have like can they see the other people's whole cards, etc.? So like it's going into question a lot of different things. This discovery of like cheating on the platform.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, there were some poker platforms. I think there was one in particular where they kind of got caught. Like people who had like an in with the platform on the website, they were able to see everyone else's hand at the table, but no one else could see their hand. I don't
Yeah, I
remember
think that
what
was up stakes
platform
or
that
up bet
was.
or something like that. Ultimate bet.
I think it was Ultimate Bet. I think you're right. I think that sounds very familiar to me. Yeah, I love poker. Poker's a great game, man. It's a really good game, very cerebral. Like you said, there's a lot of game theory that goes into it as well. Knowing what hands to fold, knowing what hands to play, knowing how much to bet, and when to bet appropriately. But that's going to be something that's really interesting to see, particularly playing online. I do like the game, and it is tough to get a live game going, but it really does make it worthwhile. And one of the main reasons I really don't like playing online is that you see a lot of these kind of crazy bluffs happen, and in real life they just don't happen. Like it's just more often than not, you really don't see them. Very seldomly. And then as
Well,
far as websites having like any type of access to showing certain players other players' hands and giving them advantages, like I think that 100% will happen. Now the solution to that is a poker company or a poker website to come forward and to pretty much make their website transparent to the point where you release the source code for the website itself, so that anyone can verify that there is no
I mean,
cheating going on, and that's really the
uh,
way to do it.
I understand what you're saying, and that makes perfect sense logically. But wait, if you release the source code to a poker website, which has a lot of financial data, that's a huge security risk of people getting their of like a hack risk or whatever, of people getting their accounts stolen in that regard. But like, I don't know if I would ever really play like that much online poker. I don't think it's trustworthy. There's a lot of shady stuff going on. Like there's people like ghosting each other. So like when you ghost someone, basically say you're playing online poker, and there's some, and you're in a tournament, right? And you made it to say like the final table. Like you basically call up your friend, say your friends like Bryn Kenny or Daniel Negreanu or Phil Ivey or whatever, or Phil Hellmuth, right? They're more experienced. They're better at poker than you are, and they basically sit there and they coach you on what to do. And that could go on since you're online and nobody can see you and what's going on. You could have like people, say you join a tournament and or a cash game online, and you're in the same table as somebody else as your friend. I could purposely raise, and then you re-raise me, and then I fold. So basically I'm like handing over chips to you in a tournament, so that you have a higher stack, and thus a higher probability of winning in like the long run. I'm basically just shifting, like, my transferring my chips over to you to make it easier for you. And yeah, there was this guy like Bryn Kenny. He's like one of the richest poker players in like cash games. I think he made like over $50 million. He's number one in total cash games, and he just recently got accused of cheating as well because he was running this like they call it like a stable of horses where he like basically hires a whole bunch of people. He had like over like 50 people allegedly on his payroll, and he was basically like coaching them in tournaments, etc. And like he had like it was like impossible for him to lose the way he set things up like in the tournaments.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. There was a situation. I'm so glad you brought up poker. I haven't spoken about poker in such a long time, but particularly whenever I'd play PS4 back in the day, there was this game on there. Maybe some of you are familiar with this game. It's called Prominence Poker. It was a really fun game. You have like your own little avatar and stuff like that. You could buy the poker chips with real money, or you could just play through the game and complete various challenges in the tournament mode. And then that's how, and enter these very high stake tournaments and win these chips. And more specifically, what happens is that in the process of winning these games, like you amass like a crazy chip stack and you keep playing, right? And you reinvest your chips, and then you could spend the chips on like microtransactions and whatever, right? So it doesn't it doesn't go to waste. But one of the main things though with that game, which I thought was really cool, but which is kind of like to your point, we would join me and my friends, like we would go on there and we would join party chat and we'd hop into a lobby and we'd keep like backing out of games until we got put in the same room because we'd connect to like we all lived within the same area, of the United States. So we all would like keep bouncing and we'd like join session, like leave, whatever. And we'd keep doing that until like four of us got at a table, like a 6-person table. And then we would tell each other what hands we had like beforehand, and we would just fuck like the other two people over. And that's like basically exactly what you're describing. Like we literally did this in the game like nonstop, and it easily violated the rules of the game, and like we could have been banned or whatever. But it was just like we literally would do it to troll and to like fuck with people. So I'd be like, yo, I have like pocket aces, get the fuck out. Like, I'd be like, yo, I have, big slick, like fold this fucking hand or whatever. Or I'd be like, oh, I'm going to check here and I'm going to trap this guy. So like, I'll let you get another hand in here or whatever. But like, we would literally tell each other when we had like crazy fucking hands. And I'd be like, yo, I'm pushing all in, fold, fold, fold. And like, we'd isolate people and shit. And we would just fucking clap people because you literally have like, every hand pretty much with the exception of two. And the odds of like four people having, one hand that beats two people is like basically almost 100%, like however you look at it. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that's a huge problem as well. There's people that I don't know if this wasn't exactly what you're mentioning, but there's people that say go into like cash games like on a computer. They go from table to table, and they'll wait for the other person to post the big blind. They'll post the big blind, and then they'll like re-raise and they'll steal the big blind. Then they'll leave the table. So they're basically like going around just stealing like big blinds, and then they never have to post the big blind. And then adding on to the Bryn Kenny story, there was actually another part of where there was this businesswoman. I think her name was like Lauren Roberts. She's like a very rich woman, and he like basically convinced. He was like, I think he was having an affair with her. He refuses to admit it, but it was kind of weird, the relationship, like how he was in her house, etc., like living there. It didn't make sense. Like the guy's like worth a lot of money. Why is he living in her house? But in that regard, but he basically like installed this kind of malware on her computer. So like every time she played online poker, he could see like her cards because he had this malware on the computer. And then every time she logged in and played, he would call up his stable, and he would tell him like, log on, the fish is on, log on, we got to get her, And like this woman's worth like a lot of money, and he stole like a lot of money from her. And now like this whole big controversy and everything like that. She's pissed off and she's going nuts online.